to another edition of Iconic Creators. I'm your host, Baxter Colburn. I'm so excited because today we have another awesome guest. I know I say that every single time I introduce a guest, but we do today because this is somebody that I have recently met in person. We've known each other for maybe a year or so virtually, but then that's how the world works these days, right? You become best friends with someone you've never even met before. But I knew that when I met my guest today in person that I had to be best friends with her because her energy is contagious. She is such a fun person to be around. And truly, I think, lives to bring joy and love to everybody that she meets. She is the owner and the creator of the amazing company called Let's Toast Events. It is the amazing Maggie Cox. Hi, Maggie. Welcome to the show today.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you. I always love listening to how you introduce people because you're so kind. Like you talk about how your guests are so charismatic, and I'm like, no, Baxter, it's you.
You're very sweet. I appreciate that. No, I love complimenting people. I love just being honest with people because I feel like sometimes we get stuck in that realm of like, oh, the superficial, like surface level compliment, like, oh, she's nice, she's great. I'm like, no, like if you're amazing, like we should tell you, right? Like,
Yes.
I've learned that life is way too short to not tell the people that you love or that you care about all those things. So I'm like, if I have the opportunity to share space with you for a little bit, like I want you to know that you're loved and appreciated. So why not tell you?
Yeah, well, I love that. I think that's an awesome characteristic of you. But also, I would agree. Yeah, we get so busy with life, and sometimes we forget to like take a moment and think about what we've actually done. So, as you introduce people, I'm sure that your guests have that moment to kind of be like, "Wait, I am kind of cool, I guess, huh?"
You're kind of a big deal, truly. I mean, like it's
Sometimes.
fun. It's fun being a cheerleader of other people's things, right? Because I've been very blessed to have a lot of great cheerleaders in my life. And I think that we sometimes take those cheerleaders for granted, right? Like, okay, mom, you're supposed to say that. Or, oh, thanks. I tell my wife like, yeah, well, you're supposed to say that I'm good at it. But I'm like, I appreciate that. But
Yeah.
I'm like, so it's you don't want to take that for granted if you don't have to. But anyway, enough of the wonderful compliments. I want to talk about you. I want to talk about your business. I want to talk about. I'm horrible at accepting compliments, which I'm sure you picked up on. But
Yes. Okay.
I want to talk about Let's Toast for a moment because this business is phenomenal. If I didn't know what it was and you met me on the street and you said, "Oh, I run this company. What's your 30-second elevator pitch of like what Let's Toast is for people?"
Yes. Well, so I always get so awkward when I start talking about my business. I think that that's something that I don't know, maybe like small business or like newer businesses kind of struggle with because I sometimes I have like imposter syndrome and I'm like, no, you know what you're doing. Stop that. So if I was to run into you on the street and I told you what Let's Toast was all about, I would say that I own an event rental company. We focus on colors and designs and really trying to make things that are eye-catching and just kind of different than what you see every day. We also do some balloons. While that's not what we were originally going for, it has been such a hit and they're so fun to do. So who doesn't want to add a little extra color and fun to every setup, right? So we can do everything from backdrops to table settings to chairs and table rentals and kind of everything in between.
That's amazing. I love that you have such diversity. I was at one of your clients' businesses yesterday. I was at Michaela Marie Sweets yesterday,
Yeah,
talking to
yeah,
the wonderful Michaela. She, by the time this episode will have come out, people will have heard her episode as well. So I love the amount of businesses in the Green Bay area. And it's not just Green Bay, but the Green Bay area that you have touched already because you've been in business for a year, 2 years?
yeah. No, just over a year.
Okay. I love
Hmm.
that. Yeah. It's being in an event-based business, I feel like is really exciting because I feel like it gives you such diversity in what you can do, but also I had this discussion with Michaela as well. You're creating a physical product, right? Whereas what I do is I create digital products, right? Like I can't hand you, I can hand you a phone, right? And be like, yep, I made this phone. Whereas what I do, I'm like, here's a digital image on your computer, on your phone. Like you can't touch it. People can touch your balloons. They can see them. They can
Oh
smell them,
yeah.
right? Like
Yes.
talk to me about the difference in that capacity, right? You're creating a physical product for people. There's a lot more pressure that goes into that. People's tastes are different than the next person, right? When it comes to what they like and don't like. What does that look like for you in terms of the pressure to perform, but also just the tangibleness of when you see a finished design to be like, I made that.
Yes, yeah. Well, that's a good point because that's the thing is I'm working with gravity and I'm
That's
working
a good
with
point. I didn't even
like,
think about
but
that.
yeah, I mean, I've had gravity work against me, and I also have had days where I'm physically exhausted because I'm doing a lot of the manual labor, and my feet and my legs physically hurt just because of setup day.
Yeah.
But also, I need a team to be able to do that because a lot of it is not just a one person thing, which I learned. I thought I could start off with just me and make that happen, but then my husband kept getting wrangled into it, which he was obviously very willing, but he has his own things going on. So I guess one of the biggest things when thinking about the tangible aspect of it is that a lot of people don't realize, like, I have to add things to my inventory as the
Correct.
styles change, and I have to stay on top of those trends. And actually storing and organizing those, it's a lot more work than I think that people always think about.
Mm.
And that's, I guess, probably the part that a lot of people don't really see either, because that's the not pretty stuff. I show you on social media, I show all of the building of the balloons
Yep.
and painting of the sets and things like that, but you're not really seeing the organizing that has to go behind it, or the physical manual labor that I have to put into it too. So
Correct. Yeah. And you don't live a slow lifestyle. You are a busy gal. You mentioned that, right? You've got a husband, you've got dogs, you work a full-time job on top, or part-time, I
yep.
guess now, but like you're a full-time professional across the
Yeah.
board, right? Monday through Sunday, right? You've got stuff always going on. How do you manage all of that?
Patience and just doing my best to get sleep where I can and take care of my body, honestly. I feel like a lot of people feel this during this winter time of year, but
Yeah.
Thanksgiving and Christmas, I definitely wasn't moving as much as I probably could have. So I'm trying to kind of stay on top of just taking care of myself as a person, and then remembering that everything else comes with that, rather
Sure.
than me as a person being put on the third burner.
Yeah, that's very important, right? Because I do feel like that is so hard in the industry I feel like that you're in, right? Because sometimes you look at okay, I have five, balloon exhibits or whatever it is that I have to make this week or whatever, right? And you get caught in the numbers, right? And it becomes a chore list of like, okay, great, that one's done, that one's done, that one's done, that one's done. But I have to imagine there's been times, hopefully more than once, where after the fact, a client has reached out and been like, you don't understand exactly what it is that you made for us and how much of an impact that made. Do you have stories like that? What does that look like for you?
Yes, I do. So I actually, sometimes I do catch myself as I'm replying to clients or future clients, or different things like that. Sometimes I catch myself feeling like this is a task that I have to complete. And actually, more recently, and I don't really know what changed inside, but I've been having a lot more interpersonal thoughts with it. And I'm thinking more like, okay, this isn't just another birthday party I have to get through. This is this mother's first birthday that she gets to celebrate with her daughter. And so I've been trying to think more like that. And it's actually been making my tedious tasks of replying to everything a little bit more fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a mental set that I've kind of changed for myself too. And then I would say, as far as like after the fact, and I get to talk to my clients, I recently reached out to a couple of old clients and or previous clients, and asked them to just leave a review so that other people can kind of find us and know more
Absolutely.
about us as well. And I don't even think I realized how many people, like, I was actually very touched. I don't think I realized how many people had had such amazing experiences with us. Like, I knew on my end it was great, but
Yeah.
I'm really glad that it was reciprocated.
Are you surprised by that though? Like when you get those messages back, or when people are like, "Yeah, you're awesome, Maggie," you'd be like, "Really?" Like, okay,
Yes.
really?
Yes.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I feel like sometimes, kind of going back to my statement I made a little bit ago about imposter syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know a whole bunch about that, but every once in a while, I just am like, fake it till you make it. Like, they
Mm.
trust you, you need to
Yeah.
trust yourself. And so I think that knowing, I don't even know, when do you ever make it? Are you always faking it? Like, that's what I think I'm trying to figure
I feel like
out.
that means you've settled, right, at that point. That's kind
Exactly.
of I've been challenged by that too over the years, and like you never want to feel like you're done, but also you want to have what you're working towards. And I'd like to think that whenever you're finally done, like that's when you've retired if you want to be at that point, right? Because you got to be chasing something, right, to keep you motivated and keep pushing you down the road, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if you ever really are fully confident in what you're doing, or if it's always just like, okay, this is a new experience
Mm.
because I'm challenging myself differently. So yeah, sometimes I kind of wonder if the experience is as smooth as I always will portray it to be. I mean, in everything that I do, I will always show the confidence, even if it's not necessarily there inside, because that is, I don't know, I think just instilled in me that if you are able to show your strength, I mean, I think that it just is charismatic, or what's the word I want to use? Shoot. It is, I don't know, it
That's a
spreads.
reflection of who you are, right? I mean, that you're showing your strength and your ability to continue to move forward, right? It shows that you're motivated and that clearly you care about what you're doing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I'm curious from this perspective of you are, once again, I'm going to brag on you. You're so kind and so warm when you're with people, right? Like you walked into the first time I physically met you, before I even knew who you were, I remember just thinking, because you are a dental hygienist, correct? Or a dental,
Yep.
right? At the place that my kids go for. And I remember you coming out and just being so kind and so Maggie, just like very up. And I would like, I don't think I was having a bad day, but I just remember like immediately coming up to your level, being like, oh, we're up here. Okay, great. Here we
Yeah.
go. Hi, how are you, Maggie? But you were very like so kind. Like my kids are great, but they're not always the best at the dentist. So I appreciated your patience with that. And you had such a
Yeah.
kind way to articulate that. I remember you walking away and I was like, holy smokes, like whoever this woman is, like she clearly like gets it. Like she's in the right
Yeah.
place, she's doing the right thing. And I'm like, okay, like I as a parent immediately felt calm. I'm like, great, like you're taking care of my kids, like, and
Yeah.
then you made it a point and we kind of stayed in contact, right? Every 6 months or
Yes.
whatever, that we'd come in and I like knew of you. I didn't know who you were,
Yeah.
but I knew of you, right? And then, which is still funny to me that that's how our story began. And now here you
I know.
are.
I love
But then when I met you in a friend capacity, I was like, I need to be friends with you. Like you are amazing. And I love that. So how do you take the energy that you have and clearly the gifts that you've been given to connect with people and put that into your relationships with your clients?
Yeah. Well, thank you for, I mean,
So that was a
boosting me.
long way around the block to
No,
get
no, no.
back to what
I
I was
love
going to try
it.
to
I
ask, but
love
I'm
it.
like, this is important.
Yes, no, I need that reminder sometimes too. So I really appreciate that, just in all aspects. I did work my dental hygiene job yesterday, and it was funny. This something that you said just made me want to tell you this story. I had this little girl. It was like the end of the day. So I mean, what 3-year-old isn't exhausted at the end of the day?
Correct.
And I was singing in the hallway with her. I was singing Disney songs, and she just was not scared anymore. She was great. And after she left, I said to my coworkers, I was like, I'm going to be exhausted at the end of the day because I have given so much. Oh my gosh, like physically
Mm-hmm.
to keep up that energy. And it's not necessarily an active effort all the time. I think a lot of
Okay.
the time it's just kind of who I am.
Yeah, it's very natural.
But yeah, so sometimes at the end of the day, I'm just like, wow, I have socially given so much and I can't always keep up with that. But I really try my best, like I said, to think of every person as an individual.
Mm.
And it's not just another anything. It's not just another patient. It's not just another job. It's not just another anything. I really try to think of this is this person's experience,
Mm-hmm.
no matter how many of these I've had. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think that is kind of where I take that, because anyone that I interact with, I want them to make sure that they know that they are special to me. So I think that I just kind of channel that energy.
I love that. I normally ask this question towards the end, but we've talked enough about it in so many sideways. I love asking this every single interview that I do is when you're not doing what you do to take care of yourself? Because everybody's answer is different and I'm always fascinated. I've had a couple of people just kind of like shoot me the look of like, I don't do take care of myself because I worked like, so like I get, and
Yeah.
it makes me laugh, but like, part of it's a reminder for me to say, okay, crap, like how do I take care of myself too when I'm not doing things? Because as a business owner, all you want to do is work your business and get bigger and better and do all of these things, right? And you lose sight of taking care of yourself. But that's why I asked the question, because I'm always fascinated how people choose when they're not doing what they're doing to unplug, relax, step back. Like, what do you do in those capacities?
Yeah. Well, in case you haven't gathered this, I am a very big social proponent. Like I love hanging
Yeah.
out with my friends. Not really doing too much. I don't need to be out in public. I like to be in
Yeah.
my comfy clothes, hanging out on my couch. Yes, exactly. Watching a movie, things like
Mm-hmm.
that. But one of the biggest things that I really try to focus on, and it doesn't always work out as well as I wish, but I really just try to make sure I get to the gym. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
something I'm 31 now, almost 32, and I've been doing that since I was 15.
Good
And
for
it's just
you.
something, thank you. It's just something that's always mattered to me to some extent. And I just think that getting that movement in, whether or not you feel tired when you first wake up or whatever it is, it always makes you feel better in those endorphins. So I would say that. And then I know that this is such a basic answer, working out and eating healthy. But I do also just really try to make sure that I'm giving my body lots of colors
Mm-hmm.
whenever I'm eating. I actually am like a big vegetable person, so
Mm-hmm.
I try for that.
I'm gonna
Those
say
kind
what
of those
a
kind of
colorful
basic
plate,
things.
right? Is what you want to aim for, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and it's easy because I actually do like that stuff. So I would
Yeah.
take like a big bowl of Brussels sprouts over pizza anyway. So
Oh, interesting.
you know,
Okay.
I'm a weirdo.
I'm curious if you're the same way because you. It sounds like you are. Number one, are you an extrovert or an introvert?
Total extrovert.
Okay, me too. Yep, that's I think why
Yep.
we get along so well.
Yes, exactly.
But also, I find that I relax really well when I'm with my people. Like, which is so funny to say because I know like my wife is like on the couch with a book, nobody else, right? Like she's the introvert, she's an introverted extrovert. She can turn it on when she needs to, but like if she's going to relax, she's in the bath for a half hour with a book by herself, like it's quiet, I've got the baby, right? Like that's how she unplugs. And I enjoy a great bath and working out and doing all those things, but I'm like, and we talked about this before we went on, like I am going to relax tonight by playing golf with some of my best friends. Like we're going to go play indoor golf. Like that to me is relaxing. I have zero stress about it. I don't care if I play good or play bad. Like I'm going to be relaxed because I'm going to be with my people. And that seems so funny to some people. Be like, well, if you are unwinding, you should be on the couch. You should be relaxing, watching a movie, whatever it is. I'm like, yes, but if you know how you relax well, like that, I'm going to come home so happy and on cloud nine because I was with my people and I played a sport that I love and I'll be great and I'll feel relaxed and refreshed.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that social battery. I don't experience that social battery very often. Like I honestly feel like I get recharged whenever I'm meeting people and
Mm-hmm.
like getting to know more about others. Like that is exactly who I am, and I feel like honestly sitting at home sometimes if anything puts me in the opposite mood. Like I'm not relaxed. If anything,
Correct.
I'm more like anxious.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's FOMO, fear of missing out, or
Yep.
what it is, but I'm like I got to get out. I got to go do something. I got to go be with people.
I feel that same way, and I love the holiday times, but I get that way during that like dead season of holiday time of like, especially that Christmas to New Year's like dead week when there's nothing happening, and I'm like, what are we doing? Like this is awful, right? Like, as someone whose business runs off of being with people or being in people's vicinity, shooting, capturing, all of that stuff, right? Like that week and a half of nothingness was horrific because I'm like, I feel, because then you get in your head, you're like, I'm not doing anything, so I'm not working, I'm not good at my job. No, it's like, no, like
Yeah.
literally people are like in a different country or a different state, like with their
Yeah.
families, it's
Yeah.
nothing to do with you, but like, I'm that same way too. Like if I'm not going and doing things, then I do kind of feel bored at times or feel like I'm not fulfilling what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I feel like for me, the days that I'm like, I end the day and I'm like, wow, that was a successful day is when I didn't stop. If I
Yes.
stop, then I'm like, wow, I didn't accomplish anything, whether or not I did.
Yep, 100%. I want to talk about social media for a little bit because you have almost 8,500 Instagram followers, which is wild to me, and I love this. You also have experienced the virality effect a couple of times as well. I want to know about these viral posts that you've had happen. I've talked to you about it off air, and I know this. Like you're like there was no rhyme or reason. I think on some of them, you just kind of put some stuff together. But I want to know what came from it, like what the posts were. Have you tried to replicate? Like talk to me from a social media creator perspective now. Talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah. So I was just hoping to get, 50 likes, um, maybe 1,500 views, maybe on my reels. That was like I felt very proud of those. If it hit 50, I was like, okay, cool. That's a good amount of likes. I never had people like strangers commenting on them and asking questions. And then all of a sudden, I posted this one reel. I had done a pastel balloon setup for one of my friends' bachelorette parties. And I had done this new technique that it's not new to the balloon people, balloon friends, balloon girlies. But it definitely isn't something that I feel like a lot of people show because it is very time consuming. So I made this one reel and I just didn't think anything of it. I was sitting in the Target parking lot about to go in and go grab a couple things that I needed to get. And I was like, let me just whip this out really quick. And 30 minutes later, I posted this reel because it does take quite a bit of time to make good reels. And so I posted this reel, and before I even left Target, I had like 300 likes. And I was like, that's crazy. Like, I didn't even do anything. And then all of a sudden, like a week later, it was at, I don't know, like 1 million views. Yeah. And actually, now I'm still getting
I was like, yeah,
interaction with
you're
it constantly.
6.4 million views on,
Yes.
is it this one, right? If
Yep.
I can
Yep.
find,
That's
yeah.
the one.
Yeah, it's not
Yep.
showing up, but yeah, that one.
Yep. There it is. Yeah. So then now I'm at 6.3 million views now, and it's not stopping. I've gotten so many comments, and I've gotten so many shares. Like I have shares, like people are posting it in other countries.
22,000 shares.
Yep, yep. In other
And
countries, I'm literally like translating what everything says because I'm like, what are they saying?
yeah, I'm
Yes.
really curious. So like, honestly though, like it's not like this is I mean this is nice. Like this is not like a groundbreaking, ground
No.
changing thing. I
Nope.
would like right that you did.
Yep.
Like this is the funny world of how social media works sometimes. And I'm like, you're not even looking at the camera. It's literally just like you're doing these double stuffing. It's a little bit of
Yep. I was
text.
watching Gilmore Girls to the side, not even paying attention to what I was
It's
doing.
priorities right there. That's important,
Exactly.
right? Like,
Exactly. Yes.
but this is wild to me. I love this. I love everything about this because that alone, I think, shows that there's obviously a need for what it is that you're making, right? I'm sure people were very excited about that. But then since then, you've had a lot of reels do really well. I mean, consistently above, 10,000, which is something you have a 246,000 one from just a few weeks ago when you did
Yeah.
your, signing your name on your balloons, right?
Yep.
That stuff
Yep.
like that is crazy. I love that.
Yes.
How much of that is stuff that you feel like you want to try to replicate as far as doing that
Yeah.
again, or is it not about that?
So it's not, so it's kind of funny because, yeah, I mean, instant gratification, I feel really good whenever I get all these notifications, and who doesn't? It's just kind of part of being a content creator, which is still a funny term to like call myself because that's not what I feel like I am. Yep. But that's, I mean, of course, who doesn't like to get those, like the likes, you know? But it's, I think I've kind of figured out what I do think does well. Reels do really well for me, at least. Reels do really well whenever I'm teaching someone something. So showing a technique that I did, those do really well. Not just showing the setup itself or not just, talking about something. It's whenever I'm showing and teaching. So those do really well. And I definitely can recreate them, I think. I mean, I have kind of ridden the wave a little bit. I don't know if my previous post helped to show off my current post or things like that. But I will say that the one thing I do have an awesome amount of followers and really good interactions on a lot of those things, but a lot of them aren't local. So while I have gotten some good endorsements, I've had a couple of balloon companies reach out wanting to like collaborate, and yeah, and so actually there's a platform. It's for double stuffing, which is what that is. That technique is double stuffing balloons. They reached out and they wanted to know if we could do something. So I'm in the works of that. So yeah, so I've gotten some really good feedback, and I've made some good connections with it. However, that's not really where a lot of the jobs are coming from. I think that local people are seeing that and they're like, oh, okay, she has, a lot of followers, or they they're trusted, but that's not really where a lot of my jobs are coming from. So my husband and I have been kind of chatting about where should I put my energy. And one of the things that I've maybe, especially around that reel, I was putting a lot of energy into social media, and then I was not having as much energy for other things. So we've been kind of trying to figure out that balance where I'm like, okay, yes, of course I want followers and interactions, but I also need to make sure that I have time for everything else that matters. So that was a kind of a roundabout way of saying, yes, I would love to replicate it, but also that's not my priority right now, even though of course it feels good and it's fun.
And I love that. I think that shows your character. I think that shows the humble nature of who you are as well, because I think it's so easy to say, well, shoot, I could be a balloon influencer. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, like what's the market for that, right? Like you could easily like
Yes.
see that those reels that are doing really well, those posts doing really well, and just get sucked into that world, and suddenly you maybe lose the reason or the vision of why you started your business in the first place.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I was kind of getting a little caught up in some of that stuff and spending a little more time than I would care to admit replying to people who will never
Right.
hire me. You know? So,
Correct.
yeah.
It's yeah, content creation is such a weird thing because I there's 10,000 classes and courses and PDFs that you can buy and write all these things that people will be like, buy this course and you'll get viral posts every time and do this. And I've bought a couple of them more from the perspective of I want to learn what other people are doing, right, and see if I can create content for my clients, right? I create a little bit for Colburn Creative and a little bit for Baxter, but really I'm not. And if it is, it's a really simple thing. I'm not going out of my way. I'm not really trying to do this big, huge thing, right? Like, and I also would prefer things look nice. And I think people like me for my personality. I'd like to think, right? And just who I am and the silly nature of who I am sometimes as well. So I've learned that the best posts are the ones that just you're most authentic with, right? And I think that's what you've done a great job of doing as well, is you're showing the process, you're showing the behind the scenes, you're showing nicer photos, right? That's not just cell phone stuff as well. Like you do a great job, I feel like, of painting that picture, as well as then kind of showing awesome photos that have been taken from events that you've done, i.e. the Alice in Wonderland thing, which I think is so amazing. Still, every time I go back and look at that, I'm just like, I can't believe you hand trimmed every one of those moss chargers. Like that's
Can't
wild
believe
to
it
me.
either.
Do you
Running
still see
for
those in
another
your
one
dreams
now.
as you're like trimming?
Yes, honestly, I still have nightmares. Honestly, I still think that at the office, we're still finding little moss pieces in the corners just because no matter how much you vacuum and sweep, it's everywhere.
Correct.
It sparkles.
Oh my gosh. I want to know about 2025 for you. I talked to you a couple months ago on a different podcast, The Real Chat, that I host with Mandy Wilkie and Allison Elise. And we talked a little bit about 24 and we teased 25 a little bit for you, but you've had a little bit of time to think about 25. You kind of put the bow on the end of 24 because we talked in November, I think, October, November. I think we talked in
Yep.
November.
November, yep.
Yep. So you had a little bit more time to kind of wrap up the year and think about the new year as well. I'm really curious, in your mind, how would you define success in 2025 when it's December 31st and you're, having champagne with your husband or whatever it is that you do to celebrate the new year, right? Like,
Yep.
what would you define as a successful 2025?
Yeah. So I think kind of what we have touched on so far, I would say is really just trying to like know my boundaries and spread myself where I think it's important. And I actually just a few days ago, I'm not bragging about this, but I am proud of myself for this. I actually just turned away my first customer that like I said it was outside of what I wanted was willing to do, I guess. And so I don't like to do that. It's my first time I've ever had to do that, but I had to know what I was willing to push myself for, and it was weird, but also it was nice to be able to set that boundary. Honestly, so I couldn't deliver what she was asking for what price she was willing, and I just kind of had to know that like what I'm doing is worth more than that. And it was a weird sensation to be able to feel that confident. I don't know. It was really cool. So I think coming up with 2025, I just want to remind myself that what I'm doing has value. My time has value. I think that's the biggest thing is my time has value. And I just want to make sure that I'm serving myself and feeling fulfilled every day. And so trying to really focus more on the jobs that I don't feel like I'm skimping on myself or like losing something.
Yeah, the power of saying no is wild in business, right? Especially when you're starting early on. I was the yes man for everything. I did shoots that I'll never do again because I was like, yeah, I needed the money, or yeah, let's just try it because maybe I'll be really
Yeah.
good at it. I don't know, right? You don't know until you try it once, or then you start to learn what your genres or your niches are that you enjoy working in, and it's a whole another situation right at that point. But there is that level of being scared a little bit too, of being like, oh shoot, like maybe I should have said yes. Like by me saying no, like is it going to cost me in the long run?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I have done a couple of events where I've really, yeah, I've really not not done the right thing for myself. I mean, I've done the right thing for the client, which I do. I love being give, but I leave that event and I feel almost resentful towards the event because I'm like, I don't feel like that served me like how I wished it had. Like this is my business and I should treat it with respect. And I don't necessarily think that by doing certain jobs or, not prioritizing certain things, I feel like I'm not respecting myself or the business. And so I think that it's a funny line to have to balance on, but yeah, exactly what you were kind of saying.
What are some of the things that you look forward to the most about this year? Do you have, whether it be an event that's already booked that you're just super giddy that I can't wait for September or whatever it is, right? Like, what are some of those things that you maybe already have on your calendar that you're just like, can this please hurry up? Because I'm so excited to get to work on this.
Yeah, well, honestly, wedding season. I have 3 weddings booked for 2025, and I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah, because weddings are really where I'd like to start focusing a little bit more. I am happy to do the small birthday parties and corporate events and things like that, where it's a little bit more balloon oriented or backdrop oriented, things like that. But I'm really looking forward to doing the entire event. And so these weddings that are going to be coming up, I've got some really great ideas. One of the themes, I'm not going to tell it because I'd like to keep it a surprise, but one of the themes is very unexpected. And I think it'll be really cool to be able to show that off and see what I'm able to do. We do also have a content day coming up with Studio 1887. And I'm very much looking forward to that because the colors are something that like I've just never gotten the chance to do. It's very jewel tone, very fun. And I'm excited to be able to just kind of show what I can do more. So I'd say the weddings in general, and then this content day with Studio 1887.
What is that content day entail?
Yeah, so we actually did it last year. I would say that was probably one of my my big, my big break. Honestly, last year was the content day for Studio 1887. I think it was a really good networking experience for me, and then also it really helped me to push outside of my comfort zone and do everything from every corner of the room. My touch was there. So this content day is going to entail, I think last year they had 16 to 20 videographers and photographers there. And then they have different models to allow for all of those content creators and all of those photographers and everything to be able to use as their models. But for us, we do a table setting, we do the decor everywhere, we are doing signage and floral, and we're helping out with all of that. So it's going to be really fun.
Wow, how fun is that? When does that take place?
February 7th.
Okay, so coming up here. Very
Yes.
exciting. Cool.
Yes,
I love that.
And the girls, Daniela and Macy, always, they're the owners of Studio 1887. They always have such great ideas, and they just let me run with it. So I really enjoy getting to use my creativity.
I love that. Well, Maggie, I could talk to you all day. I love talking to you, and I want to be respectful of your time as well. So thank you very, very much for taking time to be on the show today. If people want to get a hold of you or learn more about what Let's Toast is, how can they do that?
Well, I would say finding me on social media is probably the easiest way because that's where a lot of our previous work is. And so they can kind of scroll through and see what they like. So it's at Let's Toast _events for Instagram and Let's Toast Event Rental for Facebook. So you can find us there. Otherwise, website is still undergoing some construction. My friend is still helping with it, but it's Let's Toast WI, so Let's Toast Wisconsin.com. Okay. And then my phone for the work business phone is 217-801-0632. So always give us a call.
I love it. Maggie Cox, you're a gem. I am so grateful to have you in my life, and I'm excited for what this year entails for you as well.
Thank you for having me on. This was really fun. It was Nice. And I kind of forgot we were at the podcast. I was just chatting with a friend.
I'm just chatting, just hanging out, right?
Just
I
hanging
love
out.
it. I love it. I love it. Well, a special thanks to you, the listener, as well, for tuning in today. I really appreciate the audience that continues to spend time with us here on Iconic Creators. A quick reminder for you, the show is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes out every single week. She's Maggie Cox. I'm Baxter Colburn. Thanks again for listening, and we will see you next time for another episode of Iconic Creators. Have a great day.